My ID has gone missing. It's over for me. That was the final tweet posted by Dell'Osso in May 2023, shortly after publicly accusing her ex-boyfriend of domestic abuse and even murder, trafficking, and crimes involving children. Let's investigate. If you enjoy internet mysteries and generally disturbing content, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can become a Ko-fi member or a channel member to gain access to uncut videos and other perks, or you can leave me a tip by clicking the thanks under this video. Thanks to anyone who considers this. This video will cover topics that some might find triggering, including abuse, mental illness, and suicide. Viewer discretion is advised. You can become a Ko-fi member to watch an uncut and ad-free version of this video, which features extra details that were unsuitable for this cut. The allegations detailed in this video have not been proven, so please don't take them as fact. Do not try to contact or harass anyone mentioned in this video. If you like playing games in your free time, why not earn money in the process with TesterUp, the sponsor of today's video? TesterUp is a free online user testing platform that allows you to earn PayPal money for trying new apps and games. That's not all, you can also complete surveys, test products, solve tasks, and various other activities to receive real money. TesterUp is easy to use, there are more than 50 tasks available after registration, and you can earn up to $80 per job. Testing the apps is free, and with over 2.7 million users, you know you're in good company. I really like the flexibility of TesterUp. The tasks can be completed anywhere, on smartphone, computer or tablet. If I have some free time to play a game anyway, I feel a lot more productive if I can receive some cash at the same time. You can click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen now to download TesterUp for free. Dell'Osso, real name Jacqueline Beaubien, was a comedian and sous chef who appeared as a contestant on the TV show Chopped, as well as a couple of podcasts over the years. She was pretty active on Twitter, often sharing her opinions on a range of political topics, including women's rights, LGBT rights, and capitalism, as well as photos of food she cooked and her own personal struggles, like problems with her job and money troubles. She'd been posting multiple times, pretty much every day, until the 1st of April 2023, when she simply tweeted, "I give up lol," before going silent for 6 weeks. She returned on the 15th of May with an absolutely shocking series of tweets, accusing her ex-boyfriend of various extremely serious crimes. Quote, "I've not been active on social media for almost 2 months. It's not because I didn't want to. I was being controlled, gaslit, drugged, strangled, raped on a daily basis. I met my boyfriend when I got out of the mental hospital for attempting suicide in October 2021. He has done things to me that I can't even talk about. He destroyed my body. He atrophied my face. He strangled me until I saw a black hole surrounded by a ring of light multiple times. I'd describe this experience as death. I don't know why I felt I deserved this treatment. He stole my smile, he took my joy. Every time a good thing happened for me, it meant more abuse. I still smiled and laughed and was with him all the time. If I ever hung out with friends or co-workers, I would pay gravely. I told people at my job at Bathhouse that he got me pregnant and I stupidly decided to stay. He strangled me while pregnant and I had a miscarriage. You can ask why I didn't leave and I don't have an answer for that. Maybe daily strangulations affected my judgment. I didn't see it as abuse, it's all I knew of love. He threatened me often. It happened when he was really drunk or high and especially on edibles. He'd say he could make me disappear like the others, feed you to the pigs like the rest of them. He told me he wanted to kill somebody with him, and when I laughed, thinking it was a joke, he stared back at me dead-eyed. Then he said, "What? You wouldn't like that?" When I brought these things up while sober, he told me to stop being dramatic and that he was just high or drunk. He also frequently would speak of young girls and alluded to things I'd rather not talk about. Once again, as someone who has been doing a lot of therapy and self-care lately, being unemployed has given me time to be alone, which I never got before. He was extremely controlling. He was very creepy to his nieces and nephews and my little sister. He kept giving her alcohol at my brother's wedding and staring at her for extended periods of time, like he does with a lot of young kids. She told me later how creeped out he made her. That night, he disappeared for a huge chunk of time and could not account for it. I wish I was more mentally healthy and saw these red flags earlier. I wish that I loved myself more. I keep dating abusive men, and I never knew why until I did intense therapy that finally brought back my missing childhood. I remembered so much, and it made all of my present decisions make so much sense. I only knew violence as love. I never didn't have a creepy man controlling my every move. It's sick. It's sad. I feel physically ill thinking about it. I found a box my ex had with what seemed like random objects, but when I looked inside, they seemed sinister and dark. It contained an encrypted hard drive, passcodes, logins to weird email addresses. I called the FBI and they did not take me seriously. His ex-girlfriend and daughter have not been physically seen since 2019. You can DM me for his name, but his father is a heavily connected lawyer who is also a predator, and I'm afraid. Chris is a predator, an abuser, a child molester. His whole family is involved in the abuse. Chris's mother called me and we spoke for 3.5 hours, and she told me of the lifetime of abuse their children endured. I asked why she didn't do anything to get away, but I realised she was a victim as well. His sister and her boyfriend, Chris's best friend, have borrowed my car multiple times, and when I got it back last time, my Bluetooth and GPS no longer worked. My check engine light and brake lights went on and off. My driver's side door lock stopped operating with the key, and I had to manually press it hard. When I went to see if I could fix it, my door side panel was loose and fell off. I brought the car for an inspection and they told me there's nothing wrong with it and perhaps it's been tampered with. I couldn't imagine someone doing that. This was the photo on the background of the old phone he had stashed in that box. If anyone has seen or heard from Anna or her daughter Sophie, I think it's her middle name. His whole family goes by middle names almost. Please reach out. I am in fear for them. She apparently has had correspondence via phone and email with lawyers, but she has never made it to court, and the only evidence of her existence is a Venmo passing huge amounts of money back and forth to random people, as reported by Chris's mother. I fear they've been hurt. The nature of her disappearance is crazy, and everything in their apartment flat out disappeared. Every single item. Chris claims she strangled him with a hoodie, but as someone who has dated this person, he is the one doing these things. He has strangled me with a hoodie and put his foot on my back and pulled as hard as he could. The blackouts affected my memory, but the memories have come back. I can't believe I'm going through this right now, and I'm genuinely in fear for my life. If anything happens to me, just know it was him. Devin and Stephanie, I can't use full names on here, but I'll be happy to message. Devin and Stephanie's baby has been exhibiting signs of abuse for a long time. When I watched him for a few hours while they went to dinner, the child had horrible diarrhea and his face was flushed. I was worried and texted her asking what's going on. Her response was concerning. She discusses situations involving her children in every single conversation we had. I asked her to please stop bringing up her 13-year-old watching porn. I need to get this out because I do not think I'll have an opportunity to again. Please help. Please. Just to clarify, Chris is Jax's ex-boyfriend, and I think Devin is Chris's nephew, and Stephanie is Devin's partner. At the end of the thread, Jax shared 2 videos showing massages she does on her face to reduce the swelling she claimed could be seen in photos she had posted before. In the second video, she shows her attempt at smiling, claiming that since Chris strangled her nearly a year prior, she hasn't been able to smile properly because of the damage. She states there is some kind of muscle atrophy in her face, her right eye appears to droop slightly, as does the right side of her mouth when she smiles. She starts out talking quite normally, but gets a bit emotional towards the end, saying, "It's really hard to look at myself." So these are some very serious allegations against not only Chris, but his family as well. To summarise, she claims that he emotionally, physically, and abused her on multiple occasions, drugged her, hinted to her that he had murdered people. She pointed out that his ex-girlfriend and daughter are seemingly missing, and she believes he's a paedophile. She states Chris's dad is also a predator, that his whole family are abusers, that his sister and her boyfriend are up to something too, that his nephew's baby is likely being abused by the parents also, and she implies that all of this is being covered up because Chris's dad is a well-connected lawyer. On the same day as this long thread, Jax tweeted multiple other things, including a photo of Chris warning the LGBT community that he targets young trans people, photos showing what she claimed was her swollen face and damaged lip, a photo of a significant amount of hair stuck to tiles that had apparently fallen out while she was showering, and a message stating, quote, "I do not intend to hide or disappear. I have no plans on going off the grid. If I disappear, I'm gone forever. I urge my friends to try and meet up with me, and if you do not see me in person, if I never show up, I'm gone." The next day, Jax posted a letter from 3 months prior detailing the rejection of a line of credit request that she never applied for, and she believed that meant that someone had her social security number and was trying to steal her identity. In another tweet later that day, she stated it was Chris who had stolen her identity and claimed he had also done this to multiple other people. She also described a time that she went to hospital after being assaulted and they refused to give her a checkup. Then there were 2 videos showing a computer screen where her and a man behind the camera appeared to be going through emails. I can't really make much sense of these videos. It's hard to make out anything on the computer screen, and she's mostly talking about emails regarding 3D printers. She stated the emails were from the email account and password she'd found in her ex's possession, so I'm wondering if she found the email and password written down in the box of other things, including the phone and the hard drive. She mentioned in another tweet that Chris had apparently searched, "If CPS shows up, does it mean the children get taken away permanently?" Later, she revealed some more details about one of Chris's exes, who he dated for a year and lived in the same apartment with. She was called Christina. He couldn't remember how to spell her last name. She was Indonesian, and he told Jax that she had just disappeared. In the box containing the hard drive and the phone, Jax also found a shopping list with a phone number written at the bottom. Someone searched the phone number on White Pages and found it was registered to someone with a surname similar to what Chris had claimed Christina's surname was, before saying he didn't remember how to spell it. Shortly after Jax posted this information, she tweeted, "Holy shit, the number is gone. You can no longer locate who it is registered to." His ex Anna also had a White Pages listing, with her showing an address in Queens that is no longer available. They are wiping these women off the face of the planet. They are stealing their identities. No one will listen. No one will help. No one will even simply try to do a wellness check. I've tried everything. I've told local law enforcement. I called the FBI. No one will listen. The next day, Jax had been researching Chris's place of work and she came across a report on a man named Gyro, whose boss is Chris. The report stated that Gyro had been convicted of sexual abuse involving contact with an individual less than 11 years old. Jax said she recognised his mugshot right away. She'd seen him in person 1,000,000 times. This discovery seemingly led her to wonder if the restaurant Chris worked at was involved in criminal activity too, also mentioning that it operates under many different names and pays checks from a bunch of shell companies. A couple of hours later, Jax shared some screenshots of messages between her and Chris in which she was talking about violently throwing up at work. In hindsight, she now believed he had been poisoning her at that time. Quote, "He was poisoning me while I was pregnant. I never thought to get a tox report because I assumed it was morning sickness, but I was throwing up blood and could barely stand. I lost 30 pounds in a single month. My hair was falling out. I was weak, confused. Everything hurt all the time to the point I couldn't walk and was bedridden for months. He would bring me water and cook for me. He poisoned me. He smiled when the doctor said there was no heartbeat." Jax then shared more screenshots of messages between them from around 5 months ago, stating that he would accidentally send her messages meant for other people, then gaslight her. After this, she posted another photo of Chris with no caption, and then her final tweet on the 17th of May at 3:24 PM. "My idea's gone missing. It's over for me." A couple of people commented on this tweet asking if she was okay, but they never got a reply. The story had attracted some attention on Twitter at the time, and others tweeted publicly, encouraging anyone who knows her personally to do a welfare check. It was too late though. It was confirmed that Jax had died shortly after her final post. Those that had been following her story were instantly suspicious. She had made it clear she had no plans of voluntarily disappearing, and that if anything happened to her, it was something to do with Chris. After she spoke about his ex-girlfriends supposedly being missing, and him allegedly hinting that he'd killed them, many people worried that she had met the same fate. She had publicly exposed Chris, detailed everything he allegedly put her through, and accused him of some very serious crimes, and the police seemingly refused to acknowledge any of it. She herself highlighted on many occasions that the safety of women is not taken seriously enough, and the suspicious timing of her death caused others to feel the same. Her friend Stephen, who I believe was the man behind the camera with Jax in the videos where they were going through Chris's emails, wrote an article on Medium titled, "For Jax." It's pretty long, but it contains some relevant information, so I'll read it now. "I was one of the last people to spend time with Jax before she passed. In the 2 days we spent together, I played the role of her friend, her CSI partner, and her therapist. More importantly, she entrusted her last thoughts and feelings to me, and I feel a deep responsibility to tell her side of the story. Optimistically, I hope by telling her side of the story, we can collectively take action to prevent the individuals responsible from harming others. Selfishly, I believe this will give me some closure on doing the best I can for my friend." First, some background. I met Jax at a poker game. She was working as a waitress. Unlike the other girls working at the game, Jax always spoke her mind and got pissed off a lot at people when they violated her boundaries. I don't remember if we became friends at the first game, but I did learn that she was a comedian, which was super impressive to me. When I quit my finance job, I briefly considered stand-up comedy. I believe I made her feel safe, and she confided in me details about her past. She told me about the business she started with her ex-boyfriend and how he lied to her, stole her work, and destroyed her credit after breaking up with her. She was way ahead of her time, coming up with ideas that many years later were validated by the market. The details are a bit hazy. This was more than 5 years ago. We hung out here and there, doing karaoke in her car, and I attended a lot of her comedy shows, even taking a bus to Atlantic City for one and losing pretty much all the money I had on me. In 2018, she asked if I wanted to be her roommate at a single house in Staten Island. She was a great salesman, somehow getting me to move to Staten Island despite it being Staten Island. The house was great. There was a yard for barbecues, and the ceilings had Bluetooth speakers built in so we can blast music that reverberated through the entire house. Jax had a vision to convert the basement into a film studio. After a week, I walked down to see the walls lined with sound-dampening foam panels. She also threw a lot of house parties and cooked up a storm. She got a lot of people to travel by train and ferry to come hang out with us. Still blows my mind to this day. Jax acted on her visions and made stuff happen. I greatly admired that about her. After a year of living in Staten Island, I moved back to Brooklyn, but we still stayed in contact. Even when she got into a relationship with A, she still called me to hang out. Sometimes she would vent about her relationship and how bad A made her feel. She told me about her trip with him to Portugal that left her feeling like the relationship was toxic and had to come to an end. At the time, I didn't realise how much this had impacted her mental health, as I found out later that she checked into a mental hospital. On October 24th, 2021, we had dinner at Neura, and Jax told me she had a hinge date after. The hinge date turned out to be Chris. My first impression of Chris was that he was a very normal guy, and in subsequent conversations with Jax, she noted that things were going well. This is the most healthy relationship I've ever had. I really don't want to mess it up. Yeah, seems like a really good dude. He really is, or else I'm very easily fooled. I almost never saw her between that hinge date and the last time we hung out. I stopped by her work at Bathhouse once, she was the chef. After that, we had dinner in April 2023, where she told me that she was going through some things due to a miscarriage and problems at work. But she also told me she won Chopped and made me swear not to tell anyone until it airs because she can lose the prize money. When I asked about Chris, she told me that it was going good, but he was very jealous and controlling and won't let her hang out with any of her friends. I told her it was a red flag and she agreed. She also started telling me about her health problems. Her muscles would get locked up, and at one point she would be unable to even walk. Jax needed Chris to use his entire body weight and the foam roller on her legs to revive them. It was excruciating, but worked immediately. On May 11th, 2023, I invited Jax to Lost Horizon Night Market in Long Island City. She said it sounded great. On May the 13th, the day of the event, she told me about how Chris had a split personality and that he strangles her sometimes. Jax contacted the police, who took a statement but refused to give her a restraining order. She also contacted the FBI as she suspected Chris had murdered his ex-girlfriend. I told her to leave the apartment immediately, and she took a box of Chris's mementos that she believed contained evidence that he hurt other people. When I met up with Jax in Long Island City for the event, she told me that she believes her car and her phone was tampered with and her location was tracked. Her plan was to sell the car at a loss and obtain a new phone as soon as she can. When we walked over to the actual event, she wanted to leave immediately because of the large crowd of people. During the walk back, she gave me a summary of what happened in the last 24 hours. Most of it revolved around Chris and the process of self-healing that allowed her to uncover the repressed traumatic experiences that she was harboring. She pointed out that her face was atrophying and her neck was constantly swollen. She was looking up treatment methods and discovered myofascial release. Jax explained to me that the fascia was the largest organ in the body, and it was the mesh of collective tissue that holds all your organs and muscles and nerves in place. The tensile strength of the fascia can hold up to 2,000 pounds per square inch. Do you know the body keeps the score? It's not actually about the body, it's the fascia that keeps the score. She told me that every time you have a traumatic experience, there is an adhesion in the fascia that twists your organs, muscles, and nerves out of place. When you massage the fascia back into place, it gives your body the ability to repair itself. Additionally, it unlocks the repressed memory that is responsible for the adhesion. This is what she has been doing for the past few months. She showed me some more before and after photos of her face and neck and explained how myofascial release reversed a lot of the muscle atrophy and brought down the swelling in her neck. She also explained that the myofascial release unlocked a lot of repressed memories of abuse from Chris and from her father. We walked around trying to find a Thai place, but it was closed. She said she didn't eat all day and was really hungry. We decided to go back to the apartment and order tacos. While waiting for food to arrive, we plugged in one of Chris's hard drives to search for any evidence that can link him to his ex's disappearance. After a few tries, we realised the hard drive was just an external battery. She told me she believes he switched the hard drive out for a battery because at one point it was definitely a hard drive. The food arrived when Jax was in the shower. She came out and showed me that her hair was falling out in chunks. Even though she was hungry, she wasn't eager to eat. She went back into the bathroom and did myofascial release on her face for some time. When she came out a second time, she took a bite of a taco and couldn't eat anymore. Jax called a domestic violence hotline and explained to them the situation. She wanted some recorded evidence in case anything happened to her. She recounted how on Chris's birthday, she took him out to a nice dinner and he just seemed angry the entire time because she took a bit too long to get ready. Jax also told the social worker that Chris was going to kill her and she feels she will die soon. The social worker asked if she needed a counsellor and made some recommendations. However, he said there weren't any availabilities in women's shelters at the moment, but she can try and ask around. That night, we stayed up until around 5 AM because Jax was really anxious and couldn't sleep. She was showing me photos of herself that she doesn't remember taking, which she believes she subconsciously took to document the abuse. She also showed me photos of kids in Chris's family and pointed out how uncomfortable they looked and told me stories about how they were abused. The next morning, I left early to get a haircut. I left the door unlocked so Jax can come in and out of the apartment. When I got back, we went out to her car to get some of her stuff. We also looked around to see if we can find the GPS device. She suspects that when Chris and his sister borrowed her car for 4 days, they did something to it. When they returned the car, there was a lot of problems with it, even though it was recently tuned up. Jax noticed a panel in her door was loose and we used some tools to remove it. However, we didn't find anything there. Jax said she suspects someone came by overnight and removed the devices because now her car alarm wasn't randomly going off and one of the alert lights in her dash wasn't on anymore. Later on, we ran an errand to pick up fish for Jax's catering job. She told me she was hired as a private chef for an all-women VC dinner. She was worried that she was going over the budget of $1,500 and that they would deduct the difference from her pay. The fish store was called Mermaid's Garden. She paid for $800 worth of fish and we beelined back so they wouldn't spoil in the heat. Shortly later, we stopped by a Vietnamese place. She ordered a pho, tried some of the broth, and immediately ran to the bathroom to throw up. She had a beer which calmed her down somewhat. Back at the apartment, we watched the Mouse of Silver episode of Midnight Gospel. She said she recognized a lot of the death motifs and that in all of her near-death experiences, she saw a black void with a ring of light around it. She told me that when it's my time and I see that motif, I'll remember her. After Midnight Gospel, I put on Bee and Puppycat, which put Jax to sleep for a few hours. She woke up around midnight. After that, she couldn't sleep and paced around the room saying she felt really anxious. At around 6 AM, she said she didn't feel right and had to check into a mental hospital. At this point, she packed up her stuff and her fish and got into an Uber. I texted her on Monday and didn't get a response for the entire day. I figured she checked into the mental hospital and they confiscated her phone. On the morning of Tuesday, May 16th, she texted and then called me. She told me she left the mental hospital to stay with her godmother. I was out that evening and invited her to hang out, but she declined, saying she was tired. On Wednesday the 17th, I got an Instagram DM saying Jax has disappeared and no one has heard from her. I coordinated with her friends a wellness check to her godmother's place. The next time I heard about Jax, I learned she passed away. I'm posting this in order to centralise the information about Jax and the circumstances surrounding her death, and to make the case that even if she died of natural causes, her relationship and her history of being abused directly caused her death. I hope that people will stop dismissing her claims as a manic episode, as almost everything she told me was supported by a previous conversation, very disturbingly detailed accounts, and photographic evidence. I do hope that the investigation continues and is performed in good faith. I have no idea if the family is interested in the investigation, as based on their history of abuse towards Jax, I do not have trust that they will care about her in her death. I hope that all the victims of abuse are removed from their dangerous situations and are protected. I urge everyone to listen to the victims and believe them. Stephen's post reiterates a lot of what Jax said herself on Twitter, but he was there to witness her concerning state in her final days. Her being unable to eat, her hair falling out, her anxiety-fueled insomnia. By the time this was posted on Medium on the 13th of June, many people had already dismissed everything Jax had said as the result of a manic episode, even more so after her family apparently stated her manner of death was self-inflicted. I haven't seen an official source to confirm this. The only obituary I found, which has now been deleted, stated that she died unexpectedly, but it is plausible, and I don't think police ever believed her death was suspicious. Reading through her many tweets between the 15th and 17th of May, it's hard to deny that she does seem to be suffering with her mental health. She's extremely paranoid, alluding to some larger-scale conspiracies, some of which seem a little far-fetched, such as hinting that the restaurant Chris worked at is part of some paedophile ring or something. She seems to place more significance in some of her findings than may be necessary. For example, the line of credit that was applied for in her name. I don't know exactly how that works in the US, and I'm not saying it isn't a cause for concern, but I don't think you can automatically assume that someone has stolen your identity based on that alone. After her first thread about Chris, a couple of people contacted her with information about shelters and abuse victim services, and she shared screenshots in a tweet, claiming they were human traffickers and implying the link they sent was dodgy. In reality, they were likely just trying to help, and the link seems to be a reputable service. Someone on Reddit used a service they use for their job to do background checks on their potential clients, and found Facebook profiles of women with the names that Jax gave for Chris's ex-girlfriends who she thought were missing, and they appear to be alive and well. Some people have even wondered if Jax was telling the truth about the abuse she claimed Chris inflicted on her, even questioning if she was the abusive one. For example, in the screenshots of the messages she shared on Twitter after Chris sent then unsent 4 messages to her, she says it's shady and suspicious and accuses him of lying, before backtracking, apologising for freaking out, and saying he is good to her, which some believe shows she may have been manipulative. If Chris was abusive, and Jax was well aware of his tactics, it may have seemed more obvious to her what he was doing than it would to us reading a few screenshots without context. He apologises, but insists that he isn't lying about anything, and of course he could be gaslighting her, but again, without context it's impossible to say. In my opinion, these messages alone don't prove any of her allegations against him. I also don't think they prove that she was abusive or manipulative either. If anything, she comes across as paranoid. She said herself in one message to him that her mind needed to come back to reality, and it's hard to know what is real. I think she's showing signs of deteriorating mental health here, not necessarily intentional manipulation. There isn't anything to suggest Jax was anything more than paranoid, so I really don't feel comfortable flipping the narrative on her and speculating that she may have been abusive herself when she isn't here to defend herself. Another thing that's been pointed out though is how Jax gained access to Chris's emails and was filming herself going through them, which is an invasion of his privacy. She didn't even find anything incriminating, just a bunch of emails about 3D printers, yet she posted this on Twitter as if it was evidence of her allegations against him. Ultimately, she never provided any solid evidence to back up her claims, and in all the screenshots she shared, Chris just comes across as a normal, quite caring boyfriend. That's not to say she was lying about everything though. We really don't know what goes on behind closed doors. There are more women being abused than there are women lying about being abused, and it's not always possible to get evidence of abuse. Jax was clearly suffering with her mental health, and that seems to have made her extremely paranoid. I don't believe that Chris murdered his ex-girlfriends, or that he stole anyone's identity, or that he's involved in any pedophile rings. If Jax had anything to prove that, I think she would have posted it. I think she genuinely believed what she was saying, but she was making links where there weren't any, and reading way too far into insignificant details. That said, just because she was mentally ill doesn't mean she wasn't abused at all. Vulnerable people are often seen as easy targets by abusers, and they aren't taken seriously when they speak out, as Jax wasn't. Stephen certainly seemed to believe her, though it's worth remembering that he was not in contact with her for the majority of her relationship with Chris. I did come across a few other comments dotted around online from people claiming to have known her, who believed she was showing signs of being a victim of abuse throughout the relationship, such as this Reddit comment. I used to work with Jax last year for about 7 to 8 months, and she used to constantly vent about her ex and how toxic he was. They broke up once, and he came to see if she was at work twice that week and 3 times that month. She would always tell me about all the bad shit he's done, and I'd try to influence her to leave him. She unfortunately decided to stay with him, and I ran into her twice, and she has stopped working there and moved to Sunset Park. Jack was loved and will be missed. Regardless of what factually happened in Jax and Chris's relationship, Jax's version of events was true in her mind, and that, combined with her financial situation at the time, could well have been a reason for her decision to take her own life. But there are some people that still don't believe that's what happened. Here's a comment from someone else claiming to be a friend of hers. I don't want to state my own experience within the mental health field to remain my anonymity, but I will say when you're beaten and isolated and choked often, and you undergo myofascial therapy which uncovers traumas, none of which are manufactured the typical way fake memories are, then tell me, as her friend and her telling me very clearly and verbatim, I'm not going to myself. I don't believe her. Of course I will believe her. Alongside going to officials within the Justice Department and discovering she passed away in very different circumstances than the story that is running online. I knew her. This shit hurts to see online, and getting no closure hurts like hell. People were blacklisted from her funeral. People she knew and considered great friends. People she went to for help during this crisis in her life. I would invite her to various things throughout the months after we met, and she always had an excuse. She finally told me on the phone why. It was her ex, and I believe her, because that's what abusers do. This person is clearly hinting that, contrary to popular belief online, Jax did not take her own life. In another comment, the same person said, "Wonder how it's possible she passed away after this win from seizures induced from being choked out. Insecure men are deadly." Another person also stated that Jax's death was not self-inflicted. Quote, "It was not ruled as she was not pronounced dead in any of the 5 boroughs, and people who did not have her interest at heart kept people from going to her memorial. Her family got thousands of dollars in crowdsourcing money and then wiped those memorial sites from the internet. Keep asking questions." I'm not sure exactly what this person is implying happened, but it is worth remembering that Jax also accused her family of abusing her when she was a child and into adulthood, so if this comment is true, make of that what you will. Ultimately, these are just random comments on the internet from people claiming to have known Jax, so take them with a pinch of salt as there's no way of verifying them, but I find this whole case quite strange. It's weird to me that a decent number of people were speaking about all this as Jax was posting the allegations, then everyone just wrote her off as a crazy person and forgot all about it 5 minutes after they found out she died. As I said, I only found one obituary online that has since been deleted, only stating that Jax died unexpectedly. There are no reports from any reputable sources that confirm she took her own life, or that give any other cause of death. It's all just hearsay online, so we have no way of knowing if her death was suspicious in any way. There doesn't appear to have been an investigation into her death, which could mean it wasn't suspicious, and I'm not saying any police department would cover up anything like this, but if they would, this would probably be an ideal case. Jax reported the abuse she claimed to have experienced and made it clear she feared for her life, and it sounds like nothing was done about it, so it doesn't look good when she died if her cause of death was anything but self-inflicted. As for her allegations, was she paranoid, and did she likely get the wrong end of the stick on some of the things she thought Chris was involved in? Yes. But does that mean that everything she said should be dismissed without any investigation? As far as I'm aware, Chris hasn't publicly responded to the allegations, so I want to make it clear that I'm not trying to start a witch hunt in this video. The only living person that knows what happened in this situation is Chris himself. We can only speculate based on the very limited information we have access to, which may or may not paint an accurate picture. Either way, Jax's death and the events leading up to it are tragic. Whether her allegations were true or not, she clearly believed them, and it caused her a lot of suffering. When she reported them, no one helped her. They didn't give her the benefit of the doubt and look into it anyway, and if they really thought she was just delusional, why didn't they try to get her psychological help? Perhaps if she had been taken seriously in whichever way, she might still be here today. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments, plus any other topics you might like me to cover in a future video. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Huge thank you to my Ko-fi members and channel members whose names are on screen now. I really appreciate your support. Remember to click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen now to download Tester Up for free. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in a new video.